2 X-rated.
That's 5 in a row. 6 in a row that we've...
6 in a row. Really
successfully introduced ourselves.
6 for 6. Oh, well, we introduced the podcast.
Yeah.
Not our names yet.
Yeah. Oh, shoot.
I'm one half of your hosting duo, Ryan Whedon.
I'm the other half, Matthew Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
Here to stimulate and cultivate your cinematic appetites.
You're here being an ear witness to our blatherings on.
Yeah, do you think the news used to call it ear witness? Like,
when
network news had, like, eyewitness news.
That's true.
Why didn't radio have ear witness news?
Like, back in
I heard the crime going on, but I didn't see anything.
You heard it here first, folks, on Ear Witness News. Radio 24.
I guess it does. You hear the you think earwax.
Yeah, or earwig.
No.
Ugh.
Oh. Yeah. Maybe it's best that there was no ear witness news.
Ear. It's weird when you put ear in front of something. It's gross, like earworm. When you have a song that stuck in your head.
Yeah.
That's just gross.
Yeah, which is weird. I feel like an ear is not particularly gross as like, a hole goes.
Yeah. Yeah, until you put something like ear candy. Sounds gross.
Yeah.
Eye candy sounds fine for some reason.
Yeah.
I wonder what's up with that. Is there a conspiracy against ears?
We'll put this on the red-headed docket.
Yeah, eyes are fine. It's the eyes that are in power. We're trying to keep the ear down.
Wow, you just blew the top right off that scandal. Ears are being oppressed by Big Eye.
Yeah. This episode got abstract real fast. I was sick this week.
Never any good.
Downtime, but part of that downtime I spent listening to this podcast that everybody needs to talk about. S-Town.
Oh, I haven't listened to that, and I haven't listened to the previous whatever
the Serial one.
Yeah.
I listened to Serial. I liked it. And this one, it's basically an extended This American Life, which is like if you like This American Life, you're probably gonna like this thing. But it was almost more interesting to see like everybody jump on it with their fresh takes and criticisms.
Okay.
Like everybody had some way of taking down this huge podcast.
Were these like legitimate criticisms, or was it just people trying to like shit on something because everyone else seems to like it?
They seem like legitimate criticisms, but it's some of it was like, oh, they didn't get women right on this podcast. And it's like, well, there weren't really a lot of women on it. It's like that reverse criticism that I really hate when it's like, man, The Godfather really treats black people terribly, and it's like, well, that's not even an element in the movie. I guess, like, by omission, yeah, it's not a great movie for black people, but it's like, that's not part of that shouldn't even be introduced into the criticism, I feel like,
What about when that one mob boss stands up during, like, the meeting about whether or not to sell heroin, and he's like, we gotta keep it out of the schools, keep it for the blacks and the homeless. They're animals anyway, let them lose their souls.
I guess that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Or, like, somebody criticizing, Crimson Tide for not talking enough about the glass ceiling. It's like, there's one woman in that movie. And she's not even a career-oriented person. She's a mom.
Crimson Tide. Ryan, your topical references just might be too topical for our listenership.
I watched it last night, okay?
Did you really?
I did. Never seen it.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Tony Scott,
who I didn't realize was a prolific director. Did a bunch of big-name stuff.
Top Gun,
Days of Thunder.
Yeah. The Hunger, which I don't know.
The Hunger, yeah.
His first movie.
That's nuts. It was kind of an interesting movie to watch just from the standpoint that it kind of falls in between 90s lighting and 80s lighting.
Okay.
Where they're like, he's not afraid to throw green lights on a character and have it be like, this is the room with green lighting, this is the room with red lighting, like to help you distinguish where you are. But then also have a lot of like kind of flat 90s lighting going on, too.
Okay.
It's kind of got it both going on.
I read somewhere once, I don't know how true it is, but that Quentin Tarantino was a script doctor on that.
That's right, yeah.
I guess Denzel confronted Tarantino about his use of the N-word in his movies.
Oh.
So Tarantino, I guess, had to defend his, usage of it to Denzel himself.
Let's see, at that point he would have had Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction under his belt.
Not Jackie Brown yet?
No, because it was 95, and Jackie Brown, I think, is 96 or 97.
Okay. I mean, there is just the scene with Quentin Tarantino in Pulp Fiction.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that scene alone will probably,
That could rub someone the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know how I'm, like you, I'm always on the lookout for a good Parker Posey movie.
Oh, yeah.
To see if they actually exist. I
can think of one.
I love her so much.
Yeah.
But I can't think of a movie with her in it or a Parker Posey movie. There are definitely a handful of movies that she's in.
Supporting, yeah.
The Christopher Guest movies.
I was going to say, Waiting for Guffman's the one movie I can think
of. And then she's in my favorite Superman movie. But in terms of movies that she stars in, that's a little different.
Yeah.
And she didn't star in this movie, but she was in it. It was an early 90s sort of, I don't want to say erotic, but it was a gay sexual thriller called Frisk.
That sounds so familiar.
It seems to be cut from the same cloth as like the early George Araki films.
Greg Araki?
Greg Araki, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Where, same type of budget and, equipment as Totally Fucked Up and stuff like that.
It's not based on the book, is it?
I don't know. Is there a book?
Yeah, what's his fucking name? I hate him so much. Dennis Cooper is the name of the author.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with him.
I've read 3 or 4 of his books because everyone's told me, oh, he's great. I hated everyone.
Are they just edgy?
Yeah, it's disgusting and there's always bloody, violent gay sex and he'll throw in some punk rock references and then everyone's this is amazing. It's garbage. I hate it.
Okay, well, this movie was based on one of his books, I guess.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. You're just triggered a nerve I haven't thought about in a while.
But I mostly rented it because I knew that it was a gay movie and I knew that it had Parker Posey in it. And I was like, how bad can it be? And it's as bad as most every other Parker Posey movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't say that it's her movie. She's only in 20 minutes of it. Mm-hmm. And it must be from the real early 90s. She looks real young, pre-party girl young.
Oh, man.
And she doesn't have a big part in it. I don't even think she's in the opening credits.
Oh, wow.
And the movie is not good.
I didn't know they made a movie about that.
I will say that as far as, casting good-looking people who also look sort of everyday-ish, they did a very good job.
Okay.
Everyone looked handsome but gettable.
Okay.
Which I feel is a line that not every movie walks.
Yeah.
But that, I would have to say, is the strongest quality the movie had.
All right.
I also watched a movie called Goat.
Oh, the James Franco...
And Nick Jonas.
Fraternity.
Yeah.
I almost said sorority.
And if it's got Nick Jonas and James Franco in it, it's going to be kind of gay balls.
Oh, yeah.
And, like other movies about young men hazing one another, I found it deeply erotic. Also not very good.
Oh, that's too bad. The trailer looks great.
Yeah. And I will say, Nick Jonas, I think, is very proud of his,
body.
Gay jailbait status.
Oh, yeah.
And he is even better in moving pictures than in the stationary ones that I've become accustomed to.
Fancy that. These moving pictures are more erotic than these non-moving ones. You heard it here first from Earwitness News.
This week, we watched, it's solidified now, it's set in stone. We watched my favorite Wes Anderson movie.
Oh, wow.
the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Indeed, we did.
Also his newest. I don't even know what year it came out, but it's like 2013.
Yes.
And yeah, I remember I saw it in the theaters, and I walked out just elated, just jubilant at how good it was. And then on subsequent rewatches, I was like, this just gets better and better.
I will say that the last time I saw this before watching it for the podcast was in the theaters as well.
Okay.
And I enjoyed it much more this time around. First time I saw it, I was just kind of shrugged my shoulders and was like, meh, yeah, that was fine. It was fine. It was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed myself. But then this time around, I was like, actually, this is a really good Wes Anderson movie. I guess it's just a good movie. I shouldn't qualify it that way.
So the premise is it's a concierge, Gustav.
Monsieur Gustav.
Yeah. Of a hotel, the Grand Budapest Hotel, back, in a day where you would often take a trip just for the hotel.
Right.
It was sort of a spa getaway in one thing.
Yeah, there's soaking baths in there.
Yeah. And, there's not much to the plot. There's different things that happen in the course of this line, but, the basic plot is one of his clientele leaves him, passes away under mysterious circumstances, leaves him a very valuable painting, and the movie is just him trying to, maintain the rights over that painting.
Right. But then there's twists within
there's twists and there's turns and there's other, little pockets to the plot, but, the point A to point B is essentially just those things.
That's the inciting incident.
Yeah, there's just a lot that goes on in there. So a couple years ago, a friend of mine and I were having a discussion about Wes Anderson movies, because we feel that, in a scientific method, most of his movies are pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's no one that we felt really stood out amongst the others.
Okay.
When you think of Wes Anderson, there are people who say they like Rushmore the best. There are people who say they like Royal Tenenbaums the best. And we kind of came to this conclusion that because he steadily makes pretty solid films, it's the differences in the characters that really make you reach out and connect.
Sure.
And I think, and I don't know what it says about me, but I think because I like Gustav H so much, that's sort of the winning characteristic of this movie for me.
Sure. He is a great character.
I guess Wes Anderson has been friends with Ralph Fiennes for a long time.
Okay.
But they never worked with one another.
Okay.
And they were at a party or a soiree or whatever rich and famous people do. And Wes Anderson was like, yeah, I have this new script. We're starting pre-production in 6 months or something like that. I'll send you the script. If there's a part that you feel is right for you, just let me know. We'll work something out.
Oh, man.
And so a week later, Ralph Fiennes well, I want the lead. And so he did.
Yeah, and he did a great job.
Wes Anderson made it work, and Ralph Fiennes is one of those actors, sort of Meryl Streep, where it's I love her, but she's so rarely in a movie that I care about.
Mm.
I've never been able to finish The English Patient.
God, what an awful movie.
How could you not love that movie? How about it sucked?
And that's sort of how I feel about most of his films.
Yeah.
Made in Manhattan.
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
I haven't even seen all the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, they're fine.
They're kids' movies. So it's sort of nice to see him in a movie that I care about, and then he's doing so well in it.
Yeah.
He kind of makes that part for me.
Yeah. I like, one thing I do like about this character that's kind of different from other Wes Anderson characters is his, use of profanity, which is a lot of fun.
I love how so many times people will be speaking eloquently, and then they'll be interrupted by something profane.
Yeah,
that. You see it from the very beginning when Tom Wilkinson's sort of relaying,
and then
he's interrupted by that kid.
Yeah, it's kind of a theme of this. None of the poetry, whenever anybody starts a poetry, it never gets finished.
Never.
Then there's a poem, but we might want to go ahead and start in the soup since it's 46 stanzas. A moist black ash dampens the filth of a dung-dark rat's nest and mingles with the thick scent of wood rot while the lark song of a gutter snipe
There's a problem, I think, sometimes with movies where they want to feel more adult, so they just throw in a lot of profanity.
Yeah.
And I feel like this movie does a great job of not doing that with its profanity. Because, like, in the past, Wes Anderson's not a huge... He uses his profanity really like a sprinkling. Like, so that it has more impact, you know? And in this movie, it's a little more liberal, but it's fun.
Yeah.
Like, because
it still kind of spikes and surprises.
Yeah.
Like, when they're taking the boy with apple picture, like, before it's been... gone through probate and they actually have it, and they replace it with the picture of like the two ladies like fingering each other. Like that gag gets me every time.
I love when he's talking with the French butler in the monastery.
Who'd they kill this time?
My dear sister.
The girl with the clubfoot?
Yes.
Those fuckers.
It's just like, that's right. That's what he would say. Like, this is like he comes across as this really prim kind of character, but it's like, he would curse. You know, like, when he's not around the guests in professional setting, he would become a very sailor-mouthed man.
Well, in the scene where they're approaching the boy with apple picture, and he's describing, he's like...
This is Van Hoytel's exquisite portrayal of a beautiful boy on the cusp of manhood. Blonde, smooth, skin as white as that milk, of impeccable provenance. One of the last in private hands, and unquestionably the best. It's a masterpiece. The rest of this shit is worthless junk.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's a nice interplay for that character.
Yeah. And I don't always see it coming. Like, the timing's never the same.
Yeah.
So it's like, when it happens, it's always sort of funny.
Yeah. And this is, I think, a decidedly darker Wes Anderson movie.
Okay.
Just because, like, you know, there's some violence that happens, which you don't see normally. But it doesn't feel like he's trying to make it more adult through the cursing, I guess.
Yeah.
Point.
Because it seems like it's used with a purpose.
Yeah, indeed.
One of the reasons that I really cling to Gustav is that decision-making can be like a muscle. Like, you learn to, like, flex and grow.
Sure.
And Gustav, like, that muscle's, like, fully formed.
Yeah.
Like, he knows exactly how to make decisions and, like, go about his day, you know, as effectively as possible. And I don't know, for some reason I find that a very attractive character trait.
Totally. I'm horribly indecisive.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Just, yeah, especially, like, in his job. Like, he goes at it with, like, focus and care, and he's got high standards. And, yeah, I don't know, his ability to make decisions I just find instantly appealing.
Yeah, he knows what he wants, he knows what he needs.
I feel like it's a reflection of Wes maybe a little bit, because I feel like the movie itself is sort of Wes focusing, or not focusing, but like sort of at like the pinnacle of his strengths in a way. Like, there's a lot of big sets. I mean, there's no like real special effects, but there's a lot of big sets. And, you know, with Wes, like, he's got a certain, you know, style. Like, he likes things to look a certain way in color and in shape.
Yeah.
And in
it's
size.
very fastidious.
Yeah. And I feel like if you're going to be like a set designer, like at this point, to make sets that were this big for him, you know, you're not going to work with like new people. You're probably going to work with people who know what you like and how to create what you like.
Yeah, totally.
And so I felt like he's working with a crew that knows how to work with him really well at this point. Because you have the hotel itself that's like all in like pink and purple and like fuchsia tones.
That's a real place too.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, I looked it up because one of my notes in here was, are these sets or are these actual places? And a lot of them are. Like, the actual hotel, the big atrium, was an old mall.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like, I guess, I didn't write it down, but I guess it was like the big atrium of this gigantic shopping mall, which is really cool. And then the interiors on Tilda Swinton's house, the old lady who dies. That's actually a castle somewhere in the Czech Republic or something like that. So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, I love his purple jacket meshes really well. Like, in the hotel, it looks right at home. But then even at different, like when he's like when he's giving his like nightly sermon or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And it's like just gray and drab and white, and like the purple really pops against like the drabbery of the behind the scenes, and when he's at Tilda Swinton's manor, like it's all, you know, deep brown varnished color, and so like the purple pops against that. Like it does a good job of letting you know that like this is not like his territory.
Right.
Like, just like a visual cue that like this is not like the world that he has control over.
Right. And he uses color really well.
Mm-hmm.
Just gosh, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's not a matter of lighting really, although he does some like tricks with lighting in this movie. It's basically just like well lit, and then you tell the story with how everything with the actual objects, the color of the actual objects, not like you don't falsely color them with lighting, which sounds like a nightmare from a prop department standpoint.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's probably people who love doing that. So
yeah, and so you know, I'm thinking that you know, with sets and costumes, like he's got to be the whole crew. I feel at this point has to know how to design things to Wes's specifications.
Yeah.
And then this also feels like he's got like more of like his specific cast and crew, or his cast backing him too. Like a lot of the regular Wes Anderson players are here.
Yeah.
You know, Jason Schwartzman, Bill Murray, Jeff Goldblum. I mean, Harvey Keitel and Edward Norton were both in Moonrise Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Willem Dafoe has been in other ones. Adrian Brody, just a lot of repeat cast members. Like really, the only new ones I think were Ray Fiennes, and then I don't remember the actor's name who plays Zero, but
right, yeah, and they're kind of the most fully fleshed out characters.
Yeah,
when you think about everybody else is a supporting role.
Yeah,
and they almost like to a cameo.
Almost, yeah.
You know, situation.
Well, there's like the one scene where they're like calling the different concierges,
right,
and like Bob Balaban's in there only to like answer the phone.
Yeah.
And you never see him again. Bill Murray's got like 2 scenes in it.
Yeah, but he's been in every Wes Anderson movie since Rushmore. That's actually something that I guess is kind of fun. I don't know, I go back and forth on this, where it's like you see the preview for a Wes Anderson movie, and he shows like who's going to be in it this time, like the huge cast. Mm-hmm. Like since Royal Tenenbaums, it's always like a cast of thousands, you know. And so there's always this sense of like, and here's where so and so is, you know. Like definitely in Moonrise Kingdom, I got that feeling where it was just like anytime they introduce somebody who's like a character, I feel like they needed like their own leitmotif, or like Peter and the Wolf style thing, like, and here's their theme. But which like,
would kind of make sense in that movie.
Yeah, actually, right. But I go back and forth on whether I think that's fun or if I think it's like kind of cloying and annoying. So this time around when I was watching today, I was like, no, this is actually, I'm enjoying this.
I remember hearing an interview with Jeff Goldblum a couple months ago, and he was talking about Wes Anderson because he has a reputation for being really demanding of his cast and crew.
Okay.
He's very uncompromising, I guess. And Jeff Goldblum was like, no, that's not quite right. Like, if I come to him and be like, you know, this monologue, like, I kind of want to do it this way, he'll, you know, ask me why, and then we'll do a shot, and we'll do it my way, and then he'll be like, okay, now we're going to do it my way again. He's like, he'll usually let me do, like, a shot my way, and then all the rest of the shots his way.
Yeah. He's got a specific vision.
Yeah. And I mean, it really comes across, even in his earlier films. I haven't seen Bottle Rocket in 10 million years.
Yeah, I haven't either. I don't remember it very well.
I just watched Rushmore not that long ago, and even then you can just see it already. He's learning, like, his specific technique and how he's going to do things. And here, I feel so effortless almost. Like, it feels second nature that, of course, the camera just does a totally lateral pan across a long hallway.
Yeah,
for every
it's like
scene.
a living painting, basically, is what he does. I don't know, there's probably a technical term for this, but I noticed it more in this film than I've seen in others of his. Okay. Where it's like the camera's looking straight forward, and then it'll tilt 90 degrees downward.
Oh, okay.
Because he'll turn like 90 degrees with the camera a lot. Especially in this movie, that happens a lot too. But he also does it like down, like on the y-axis, I guess. But it's like, it's funny to ascribe that to one director as their visual style.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, who else is doing that shit?
Like, I can think of, like, maybe not, like, the down the you know, axis one, but, like, panning left to right definitely has been used for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But the panning, like, down, I don't know if that one's been used very frequently, but, like, he just doesn't do handheld. Like, he does just very specifically. I remember last time I watched Royal Tenenbaums, I was looking for, or I wasn't looking for it, but there was a scene, it was like right after the car accident in that movie.
Yeah, oh, that's what I always think of.
And there's one handheld scene in that. It's like they're closing in on like Ben Stiller or something like that as he's like looking at the accident. And it feels so out of place.
Yeah.
Like, it does not feel like a natural Wes.
Right. I mean, that's what his strengths are, is like, and specifically, I guess we can talk about this movie too, that scene in Royal Tenenbaums feels like a painting, but it's like moving, you know, he moves the camera across what he has made into a moving painting, basically. Yeah. And I mean, like, that, I think, is his strongest visual style. It's all over this movie, too.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it so much before Royal Tenenbaums. Like, it's not really... It's kind of, like, budding a little bit in Rushmore.
Yeah.
But it really comes to fruition starting with Royal Tenenbaums, and then he does it from then on.
Ramps up, really, yeah.
And he just does it really well.
Yeah.
What is it? Oh, I like the changing of aspect ratios depending on what part of the story we're in.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's basically a book.
Yeah, it's a little girl who has a book in her hand, like she's looking at...
Yeah. It's like Russian nesting dolls of stories here.
She's looking at a monument of Tom Wilkinson, and then she looks at the back of the book and there's a picture of him.
Right, and then we cut to him, and he's talking to the camera.
Yeah.
About his
it's like
experience.
It's like he's relaying like the foreword of his book or something.
Right.
Like vocalizing it.
And then we jump to a young Tom Wilkinson, played by Jude Law, and then the aspect ratio changes to the long, like, I guess it's 70 millimeter. I'm not sure what it is, but it's like a long panoramic view.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that ratio would be. But then we get, when he meets with the hotel owner, who turns out to be Zero, and then he starts telling his story, we cut to a different aspect ratio, which I thought was really clever.
So I watched this on Blu-ray, and like before the movie starts, it says like, please adjust your aspect ratio. It's got like an old-fashioned title card telling you to do that. I
didn't notice it when I watched it in the theater.
Neither did I.
It's funny how it took till today.
I noticed it the last time that I watched it, like at home, my first rewatch. I noticed it, but yeah, in theaters for some reason I didn't feel it at all.
It doesn't read the same way.
But yeah, I like that as a trick because it doesn't. Like, even though a lot of the movie's full screen, it doesn't feel full screen.
Right, yeah.
Like, it still feels like you're watching a widescreen movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like the Russian nesting doll part of the story. Like, you start in what's presumably present day, goes back. I don't even know if they say how far it goes back when you're seeing Tom Wilkinson talk.
Yeah, I mean, judging by the decor of the hotel, that's like 60s, 70s that he's there, I would say. And then, like, it goes back to the 30s, maybe?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure.
The brunt of the story takes place in, like, the 1930s, I think.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Art Nouveau, Art Deco, mishmash going on there, which was kind of fun.
What do you think of Tilda Swinton versus just hiring a normal old actress?
Okay, I have a fun fact about this.
Oh, man.
I got
my fun pants
I don't want to blow my fun fact wad too soon here, but originally it was not supposed to be Tilda Swinton.
Okay.
It was supposed to be our friend and lovely woman...
Parker Posey? Gina Gershon?
Close. Angela Lansbury. Can you imagine? How cool would that have been?
As much as I love Tilda, that probably would have been cool.
I know. And she had to back out because she was doing Driving Miss Daisy on Broadway at the time. And there was scheduling conflicts. But it's like, damn! Wouldn't that have been great?
Yeah.
Like, now when I look at Tilda Swinton in that role, it's just like, they were trying to make her look like present-day Angela Lansbury. That's what they're doing.
That's too bad.
I know. She's great, don't get me wrong. Like,
yeah, I mean, I love Tilda Swinton.
Tilda doing Greyface is tons of fun. But But yeah, Angela Lansbury really would have been a like cherry on top there.
Yeah, that would have been pretty awesome.
But as far as your question, how do I feel about Tilda? I mean, it's fun. Although she's kind of, this is something Tim, my boyfriend, brought up. He's like, he said he doesn't like it because he feels like she's always just trying to do something weird these days. And he's like, she's just trying to be like the female Johnny Depp. It's like, yeah, I guess so, kinda.
Well, when Tilda gets attached to a big budget Disney action franchise, then I'll make that claim. But...
Yeah, I'm looking forward to her Pirates of the Caribbean, whatever it's going to be. Maybe it needs to be a Disney ride, so like Tilda Swinton is Space Mountain.
Tilda Swinton is the Matterhorn.
I liked going back to the movie that we're discussing.
Yes, of course.
I like how Ralph Fiennes' character, Mr. Gustav, kind of has a sexual ambiguity that they toy with.
Okay.
Like, he's definitely into, like, old women.
Yeah.
And he's definitely, like, straight. I think we get that impression. But it seems like it gets toyed with a little bit. Like, the Adrian Brody keeps calling him a faggot. And
yeah.
He's like, you've probably fucked my mom, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I thought you said I was a fag. And he's like,
you are, but you're bisexual.
And then also when, like, he goes into the prisoners call him in when he's delivering the gruel.
Yeah.
And they're like,
me and the boys talked it over. We think you're a real straight fellow.
Well, I've never been accused of that before, but I appreciate the sentiment.
That's fun. Like, he can be fastidious and put together. He doesn't have to be a homosexual.
Yeah, it's true. I like that even though the movie, from certain points of view, you could say that it sort of lionizes Gustav. Like, he seems, you know,
right,
a symbol of class and, you know, decadence from this era and stuff like that. But I like how it sort of points out, especially near the end, it's like he became the thing that, like, he always sought after, like, blonde, insecure,
right,
wealthy. Like, I was like, I like that.
Yeah. It also, I think that speaks to the Russian nesting doll style of the storytelling, in that he, as the story gets passed down through these different, you know, people, that it can kind of turn into a myth, almost even sort of like a Paul Bunyan style story that, like, he just becomes this bigger, larger than life character.
Now there's a Tilda Swinton movie I want to see.
If you had to pick a favorite shot from this movie, do you have one?
A favorite shot. There's just the scene where they're hiding the picture of Boy with Apple in the safe, and like one of the lobby boys comes in, like, the police is here to see you, and they're just kind of frozen, like looking massively suspicious.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Uh-huh.
The police are here. They asked for you.
Tell them I'll be right down.
I like the shot because it works so well with what you've just seen. And yeah, it cuts to them. They couldn't be looking more suspicious.
Yeah. And it's a classic Wes Anderson, like, this is a painting, basically. You know, it's like, if you pause during that scene at any time, you could put that on a wall.
Yeah.
And then as the still, and then you could analyze it as, like, what's the story that's going on here?
Yeah.
You know?
It definitely looks like they're hiding something.
Indeed. And then there's somebody peeking in that has something to talk to them about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find the scene, like, funny and simple all at once. Like, because they're just standing there, essentially. Like, there's not a lot happening.
Yeah.
But just the timing and the delivery.
The camera doesn't move.
No. Like, it gets cut. Like, you get, the 180, you know, reverse angle of it. But, yeah, there's not a lot to that scene. But I don't know. It was just framed nicely. And Ralph Fiennes, like, nailed that one line.
We'll be right down. Yeah.
And yours?
I really like, I don't know why I like it so much, but it's just like exactly what I want to see when it comes, and it's during the gunfight.
Okay.
When they're on the very top floor fighting across the atrium on those, and he pulls down and looks up from underneath, at the gunshots.
Okay.
And I remember when I saw it in the theaters thinking, like, that is so cool. That's what it would look like if you were in the atrium,
Yeah.
you know? And which is where most people would be gathered anyway. And so, I don't know. I just think that's really smart. And it's exactly what I want to see during that gunfight. So, and then this time around, it gave me goosebumps because I knew it was coming. I was like, ooh, it's going to be the undershot. I love this shot. And I don't know why. It just really gets me excited.
To go back to the violence in here, because you mentioned how this is a little bit more violent than most Wes Anderson joints. I always forget that Jeff Goldblum gets the door shut on his hand.
Yes.
And every time I'm like, oh my god, that just happened. Wow, okay.
That's the thing. The violence is kind of shocking in this too. I mean, like, people die.
When the R rating came on, like, as the movie was starting, and I forgot, I was like, R rating for what? I'm like, oh, they do kind of swear a little bit.
There's a severed head.
Yeah. They kill a cat.
Yeah. But he gets his comeuppance in the same way the cat does. He gets thrown off a cliff.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Goodbye. I did write that. I wrote kitty with a little sad face. It made me sad.
Yeah, I don't do well when, like, animals get it in movies. Like, for some reason, like, I stop suspending disbelief. Like, I watched that, Barking Dog Never Bites, or whatever it is.
Oh, okay.
The
Bong Joon-ho movie?
Yeah. And, like, the beginning of that movie is that guy trying to hang a dog.
Yeah.
I was just instantly like, this has such a steep road to climb for me now. Like, this is going to be like an okay movie tops if everything goes well after this.
I have to talk to you about this movie then. We'll save that for later. But yeah, he's good with the shots, man. Like, it's all really memorable.
Yeah. And I feel like his shots aren't super complicated. They're just layered really nicely. That, you know, the sets or the background and the costumes look solid.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, whatever you're seeing is solid. And then he's not overly voracious with how he moves the camera. His shots aren't super complicated or intricate, or they're not like a David Fincher where they're, like, roaming all around and doing all sorts of different things. Like, it's just cameras here, and it might pan, or it might zoom, or it might, you know, lift at some point, or, you know, drop, but it's all in a straight line, you know, more or less.
Yeah, it always feels like a play or a stage, basically.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that scene in Rushmore,
mm-hmm.
when they're doing the play at the very end, like the war. And, like, the way that, like, the camera will kind of pan as, like, the troops are, like, walking across the stage. I'm like, this feels like a Wes Anderson movie.
Totally.
Like this. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess we've kind of brushed upon this earlier, but, like, my favorite Wes Anderson movie is Rushmore.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a lot to do with the scope of it.
Okay.
Being that it takes place over 4 or 5 months, something like that, and there's like 3 main characters. There's not a lot of like winking to the camera, which I think starts to happen right after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like it's a really good marriage of the sort of whimsy that he's known for, but also grounded in like real character development happening.
Okay.
I think he kind of forgoes that character development in his scripts later on for more of a just like pastiche and like big grand sort of Russian novel style storytelling.
I can see that.
And that's not necessarily to a fault, because I really, I think he focuses later, starting with like Royal Tenenbaum, to kind of he picks one character to have their growth happen. And then all these other people are like secondary characters around him. That said, this might be my second favorite now. I don't know. Like I was always saying Royal Tenenbaums was my second favorite, but like this one is really great.
This one, so you're talking about, you know, how it's more about like the look and the pastiche of it.
Yeah.
While watching it, I kind of realized that most of like what I would put in like favorite movie categories.
Mm-hmm.
Have like a strong emotional element. Like they move me in some way, or they make me rethink the concept of what is art, you know, stuff like that. And this doesn't.
No.
Like, it really, I don't feel super emotionally connected to any character.
Right.
I don't think that it makes me rethink movies or art or expression. But for some reason, it hits this sort of zen middle ground of being consistently enjoyable from frame one to frame whatever's last.
Yeah, it's definitely got... It's got an X factor that I can't put my finger on.
Yeah, and so even though, like, my emotions aren't, like, swinging, it's not a, you know, breaking the wave sort of, like, emotional journey. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Like, I start it and I'm happy, and I end it in almost the exact same, like, happy mood that I was in when it started.
Right.
Which is...
And no one really grows, honestly.
Yeah, it's not a huge journey. Like, we get a good story out of it, but... And I feel like this is sort of unique in that type of movie, because usually if I really, really like a film, it has some sort of emotional attachment to it.
Yeah.
Or there's something in it that grounds me emotionally to, like, the sways of it, that I really care about the characters and want to know what happens to them. And this, it's not that I don't care about the characters, but it seems to be outside that normal sort of emotional attachment when you're invested in a story.
I'm glad you made me watch this again, because I kind of blown it off as being like, yeah, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
But I did like it a lot more this time around.
Yeah, big fan of this one.
Good job, Wes.
So, do you have anything for me next week?
I do.
Uh-oh.
I'm,
Your jaw's clenched, your palms are sweaty.
Yeah, I kind of had a little trouble figuring out what I wanted to do, because I realized this whole season I've really been focusing on only movies from the last 2 decades. So I was like, I should do something older, but I'm not going to.
I was going to say, we just had a movie from 1965.
I know, that was your pick. But I'm going to do a movie by a lady director.
Oh, man.
And it's a movie of...
And you have to qualify. Director definitely infers man.
Indeed. But I only saw this movie once, so I don't know, but it's something I've always wanted to revisit. But I want to do Take This Waltz.
Oh, okay.
A Sarah Polley movie.
I saw that in theaters.
Yeah, I only saw it once, and I've returned to it a lot in my brain. So we'll just see if it stands up against the second viewing.
I remember correctly. So Take This Waltz is a Leonard Cohen song.
Right.
And I remember that there is a cover of a Leonard Cohen song in there, and I want to say it's by Feist. I don't know now.
Oh.
But it's like something they only recorded for that movie.
Oh.
A song of or a cover of Leonard Cohen's Closing Time. And it's one of my favorite Leonard Cohen songs. And they only like play it for like, I don't know, a minute or something.
Uh-huh.
And it's so much better than his version.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, oh, God, I need to get that. I couldn't find it on any of my previous illegal sources before. Like, they never released a soundtrack for it, and I couldn't find it anywhere, at least when I looked for it initially. It was like, I don't know. It seems like going out of your way to record something in the studio and then not releasing it in some way, shape, or form seems odd to me.
Maybe it's one of those things that you're going to have to, like, contact someone on, like, the dark internet, and then you'll meet them in a back alley, and they hand you, like, a thumb drive.
A floppy disk. This has the song you're looking for.
That they use at some
I
point.
put it in, like, I find, like, my Macintosh from 8th grade, and I put it in, and just a bunch of, like, Watergate secrets.
Like, damn it, Deep Throat, again! Yeah, so I don't know, we'll see.
Yes, we will.
Shall we plug our junk?
We should.
We have Twitter account at X-Rated Movies.
We have a Facebook page at Rated X Movies.
You can send us emails through the netroverse at x.rated.movies@gmail.com.
knocking this out of the park tonight.
The music bed will cover up all of our flaws.
Like, rate, review, subscribe on iTunes, especially the rate and review, because it helps get the word out there for similar podcasts, people looking for this type of thing.
We love knowing what you think about us.
We nearly like shit ourselves when we saw a new rating today.
So, yeah, make us shit ourselves. Also, if you want to give us money for hot quality content like that, we have a Patreon, and it's just patreon.com/X-rated movies. Everything's X-rated movies. Next week, take this waltz.
Next week.
We'll see you then. I mean, you'll hear us then. You'll be ear witnesses.
Be the first ear witness next week. X-rated.
Bye.